and welcome to Youth Football Scotland TV. I'm your host, Adam Binnie, and today we are joined by the king of interviews himself, Mr. Simon Ferry. How are we doing, Si?
I'm good, mate. It was my wee boy's birthday yesterday, so I had a wee bit of a late night, as you can probably see. Nah, good.
Happy birthday to him. How old is he?
He's 6 years.
Nearly as big as you then, eh?
Yeah.
Right, for those...
The only thing is, mate, he's got no personality.
He'll grow into it. Anyway, for those that don't know, Si is a professional footballer who has played for Celtic, Swindon, Portsmouth, Dundee, and is now currently at Peterhead. He is now also the host of Open Goal, a popular online football show and a podcast. Now, Si, I'm meant to ask here how you've been keeping busy during lockdown, but it's obvious that you've been one of the busiest men in Scotland at the minute. So can you tell us exactly what it is you and the guys at Open Goal have been doing during lockdown?
So basically, mate, just trying to get as many kind of big names as we can for down south, especially just because when the lockdown's on, it's hard to get down there. Obviously, as you say, I'm still playing. I was coaching as well. So for us to get down south and do 4 or 5 boys, it would take 2 or 3 days to do it, and just kind of not got that time to do it. So just with the Zoom calls and what you're doing, it's been great for us. We've messaged a lot of guys and they've came on, so they sort of names you wouldn't be able to usually get. So to get them on has been really good, like Ollie McBurney, Charlie Austin, Matt Ritchie, guys like that. And then obviously we did a podcast once a week with Kev and Slaney. We've got Kenny McLean coming on. He was on the other day.
Oh, aye.
So even, again, Kenny, Premier League footballer, down in Norwich would take us about 12 hours to drive down there. So
aye.
The fact that we can just jump on this and do like that, it's been brilliant.
Standard of the stuff lately has been brilliant, and I can already see that the podcast's been a lot more popular recently as well. I think you'd agree, especially since lockdown. You have definitely blossomed through that. Any time spent with the family at all? Was it just all podcasts?
No. So I've got 2 wee boys, mate. So
aye.
I try and make a couple of hours every day for them at the back, and doing it out on their bike or something. But the podcast is only meant to be for about an hour, mate. But when Slaney's on, they're usually going for about 2 hours. We end up we cut half that out, so it would take up a lot of time. Man, like we had Tubes on for Soccer AM as well. Tubes came
really?
on. So Tubes will be out on Tuesday. So
brilliant, mate, brilliant.
So now that like it breaks your day up. Do you know what I mean? Like you're doing 2 podcasts a day. It's 4 hours, usually about 4 hours. So it kind of flies in.
Full-time job it is now. Eh?
I know, mate. I know.
Right, on to the football. So what are your earliest memories of the game? When do you start playing and who for?
So my earliest memories is that I've got a big brother who's 2 years older than me. We lived in a street and 3 boys in my street were tremendous players, man. Like Chris Glennie, the boy's name was a guy, Kevin Swain was really good. And my other mate, Kyle Hutchison, and my brother was a good player as well. So I always played in the street with them. As I say, they were 2 years, used to blitter me, man. Absolutely blitter me a bit.
Toughen you up, aye.
Toughen us up, mate. And then just got to the stage that I was kind of the best player in the street, even though I was 2 years younger than everyone else. You know what I mean? And then Celtic, it was an old guy in Dundee called Sean Smith. He was 88 years old. He was a scout for Celtic in Dundee.
88?
88 he was, mate. Honestly. And he took all the coaching, he took us for training. He used to stand on his head. There's a big hill at Lockheed Park in Dundee. And part of our warm-up was, he says it strengthens your neck muscles. You used to stand with your head against the hill and put your hands behind the back. Anyone driving past me must have thought, what's going on up there, man? But he was a great guy. All his training was about being technically good. Everything was with the ball. Guys like Ross Wallace, Charlie Adam, Mark Fotheringham, Michael Gardine. And they were a lot older than me. And again, same as before, they absolutely used to blitter you. So it's a great upbringing I had, mate. And got a lot to thank all them for.
So was that like a kind of specialist group that you had up in Dundee? Did you, when you first were scouted by Celtic, did you not go straight down to Glasgow now? Nah,
so what happened, I played for Dundee Celtic Boys. Just a local.
Oh, right, aye.
But that wasn't like a feeder club or that. Like old Sean would go around all the games on a Sunday. Everyone knew who he was, mate. You were desperate to impress him. Like if you seen him standing at the side of the pitch, you'd be running about like a madman.
Aye.
One day he approached my dad and says, would Si fancy coming in with Celtic? So you had to go in with him for about a month until he thought you were good enough to go through to Glasgow. Like he was last on never sending anyone through to Glasgow that he didn't think was ready, because he had such a good reputation in there. So he would never send you through until you thought you were good enough. So after about 4 weeks, he says, right, you're going to go into Celtic now for basically a trial, mate. So I drove through to Glasgow, done really well, obviously, and then kind of just went for there.
So how old were you when that happened?
I was 11 when I first went, maybe
11.
10, 11 when I first went
Wow.
through to Glasgow, mate. So amazing, mate. Like, get the train through, Celtic would pay it, and somebody would meet you at the end, you'd go and play, and then play on a Sunday, and then get the train back to Dundee.
Did anyone go down with you? Was it a group or was it just yourself and your...
Well, it would be Michael Gardine and Ross Wallace and all. I would jump on the train with them, and like,
oh, brilliant.
I'm 4 years younger than them, mate. So I was like the guy that I had to do everything, mate. Do you know what I mean? Go and get do this, do that. But then a scout would meet us at Glasgow Central, and or like 4 scouts. One would take Wallace to the under-16 game, one would take Midge to the under-14 game, and then one would take me and a couple of other boys to the under-12 game. And then you'd play, and then you'd all meet again at Central Station to get the train back. So it was a great laugh, mate.
That was brilliant, aye.
Going down to Glasgow for the weekend, getting a laugh, hunters of sweeties, hunters of crisps. So I used to love it, mate.
So when was it that you moved down to Glasgow? I heard you've talked about being in digs and stuff. Was it a time you had to move down permanently when you were older?
So I played a year above myself at Celtic. I played the year up, so all the boys went in it. They were 16 when they went, and I was 15. But luckily, I'd started school a year earlier as well. So as soon as I'd done my standard grades, straight through to Glasgow. We actually played Dundee. Where was it? At Keir Park or something. And I remember I was leaving Dundee for good to go to Glasgow through back on the bus with the boys,
right.
and my mum standing at the side of the bus, greeting in tears. So now we're up the road, do you know what I mean? And then all my other boys on the bus are pure laughing at her. So it's straight to Glasgow, and mate, of all the places, got put in digs in Airdrie.
Airdrie, oh.
That's brutal. How's your luck, man? Some boys got Bears Den, and like, I got Airdrie, man.
Oh my god.
I got put in my big, I think because I was quite a lively kid, Tommy Burns put us in my big geek, big Sandy Wood. He was famous, so was a big goalie, mate. But what a guy. He used to say every night we'd get potatoes, like the food was terrible on the dig. And every night he'd go, oh, Simon, these potatoes are like snooker balls. Mate, we used to fling every night. We used to sit at the back door, and it was like a conservatory door, and we'd sit there obviously with our dinner, and the digs lady and the guy would be in the living room, so they couldn't really see us unless they turned around to look at us. Every night we took home, I would get like my bit of chicken, mate, and just launch it around the back end for the house, and then we'd get the potatoes and we'd just launch them, and then we'd go upstairs, phone a 12-inch pizza, and we'd say to the guy, dinner chat the door.
Just leave it outside.
No, just leave it outside, and we go every night, mate. It was like a pure mission to go and get that pizza without them finding it. But I used to block the toilet all the time, mate. They hated me, mate. The 2 digs hated me. And she was an older lady, mate. And we used to sit in the room. And when I knew I'd blocked the toilet, I'd run into Sandy. I'd blocked that. Mate, it was honestly, mate, 2 bits of toilet on it was blocked, man, for some reason. And we used to wait on her coming up the stairs. And without doubt, without fail, every time she would shout back, she would shout downstairs, Dave, he's done it again! So I was only there for like a year, mate, and I got pally with, you know, Scott Fox, who's Partick Thistle keeper.
Oh, aye, the goalie. Aye.
So I would say, I used to go to Fox's house every night, man, because he was just along the road, and Paul McGowan would come as well. And I would be like, I need to get out of the digs. So I went and stayed with Foxy after that. His family took me in, gave us a room, and I just paid them digs every month.
Brilliant. So it sounds like you speak very fondly of your time at Celtic. So overall, did you enjoy playing in an academy setup? I know you've played obviously grassroots with Dundee Celtic and then moved on to academy setup with Celtic. Did you enjoy that? And do you think academies have changed at all since you were there?
Loved it, mate. Honestly, best days of my life.
Aye.
All the kids that I coach at Celtic now, like, make the most of it, man. Because see, when you're at a big club, mate, it's the best. Like how you're looked after, coaches you've got there, the older players that you can learn off of. And not just that, see at Celtic, mate, it wasn't about like getting taught about football, like you got taught about how to be a guy and a good person and how to live your life. Tommy Burns was massive on you being a good person. Like, if he ever seen you walking by like a cleaner or a cook at Celtic Park and no say hi to them, he would pull you in his office, man, and he would go through you.
Wow.
The people at the bottom, he's like the cleaners, the cooks, just as important as me and the manager. It was brilliant, mate. And like, all my group of pals now, we still speak. We've still got a group chat. Aidan, Charlie, Jim O'Brien, Rocco, Dean Richardson, Ryan Conroy. We've all still got a group chat, mate, and we're all kind of similar people, and it's all through our upbringing at Celtic. So great, loved it.
And do you think that's changed at all? Not just Celtic specifically, but academies in general. Do you think it's changed from your days?
I do, mate. I think coaches now think that coaching, as I say, is all about being on the grass and showing boys drills and do this, do that when the boys here. And that's not what coaching's about, mate. These kids are at Celtic for a reason. They're good players.
Right.
They need to make their own decisions and their own mind up. As I say, the way that you become a good coach for me is connecting with kids on a level, so that whatever you tell them, mate, they'll take it as gospel. And I don't know if coaches still have got that relationship with kids. It's hard for me to say, mate, because I'm not in there and I didn't really see it. But just when I see young kids now, it's like they've not got that enthusiasm to speak to people. It's quite head down, and hopefully nobody will talk to us. So I would say that was the difference. You know, I think coaching now is all about what happens on the pitch and put these presentations on that kids look at on their computer. Just talk to them face to face. Why are you sending them on a computer? Just go and pull them aside and talk them through what you want. So that would be the main difference for me. Like the amount of coaches in Celtic when I was younger who took a proper interest in your life was unbelievable.
So you talk about having big influences there and people that had a big impact in your life at Celtic. Who were the people in particular as you edged closer to the first team, players and staff, that had a big influence on your career and in your life?
Oh, Tommy Burns is massive for me, mate. I loved him. Remember when I first got taken away with the first team to Poland, I think it was 17. Tommy got... The only reason I signed with the first team was because Tommy, like, I was 17 when I first started training with the first team. Gave us a new 4.5-year deal. I think it was on my 18th birthday. I'd signed a 3-year deal at 16, obviously, and then... No, in fact, it was my 17th birthday. I was only there a year, and he gave me a brand new 4.5-year contract.
Wow.
So just even him giving me that made me think, wow, Tommy Burns must think I'm a player. Training with the first team, and I never forget it, man. We went away Poland with the first team, 17. I came on. That's right, I came on a game and I done really well. The last 20 minutes, I think it was. And Gordon Strachan was buzzing off us, and we flew back to the airport after the game, and I was getting a taxi back to my digs, and Tommy phoned us. Like, I just left him. He's like, this is it for us, kid. This is the year. Me and you'll date this year. And then obviously I smashed my ankle, mate, and ended up being out for 2.5 years with it. So in the day.
Obviously, in your youth career, one of the highlights has to be reaching the final of the under-19s Euros in 2006. Can you tell us a little bit more about the journey to that final?
Mate, again, that was a great group of boys. It was we had 6 Celtic boys in it. Again, I was playing a year above myself, mate, for that Scotland team. The other boys were a year older than me, so just to get in the squad, mate, I was absolutely delighted because there was like Dorans. I played ahead of Dorans in it, and Dorans was
wow.
Dorans, I used to think, like, why are they playing it ahead of Dorans? Honestly, but just as I say, it was all boys that were from similar backgrounds and good players as well, mate. We had like Snoddy, Fletch. Fletch was outstanding, Like, Fletch was unbelievable. Who else was there? I'm trying to think. Lee Wallace, mate. What a player. What a player. And it was just constant. It was just a constant carry on, mate. A constant carry on. No nerves. We used to look forward to playing any day, man. Like, we to get to Poland, we beat France with Benzema and Nazar up front. Beat them 1-0. Between us and them, who qualified. I remember Archie Gemmell was brilliant, man. Like, no great coaching wise, as in like Pep Guardiola, but like, see, to get you up for the Scotland game, mate, Archie Gemmell was the man. Sometimes we had a joke that sometimes you'd look over, mate, and he'd be standing with his hands in his shorts. And that was just the kind of guy he was, But then he'd say like one thing, and you'd think, wow, that's brilliant, man, because you could obviously tell he played at the top level. Yeah. Like, he was brilliant at setting us up against teams, mate. Like, obviously Spain and who else were there? Turkey. They had some great technical players. I think Turan played for Turkey. Wow. And we would kind of sit in and be hard to beat, and then get the ball up deflection, and we'd all just run up, and hopefully, like, our good players like Snoddy would create a bit of magic. But so well set up, like, to be that well drilled at 17, like Archie Gemmell was really. Tommy Olsen, who was at Rangers as well, was a coach. He was brilliant for us as well. But just the personality in that group, mate, like warriors, man, as kids, and we used to fancy ourselves playing anyone. Spain beat 5-0 Spain beat us 5-0 in the groups. PK scored 4 headers for 4 corners. 4 headers, mate. He was an animal, And then completely changed how we were going to play in the final, mate. Got beat 2-1, but we should have won it. I missed a sitter to make it 2 each.
Could have been a hero.
I know, mate. I know, but nah, great times, honestly. And like, see guys like Lee Wallace and Fletch, and people look at these guys, I think they're quite dour, but honestly, see like Lee Wallace and that, mate, proper character when he was younger. Funny guy, and he was kind of, I don't know why, because Lee Wallace was brilliant, but Archie Gemmill would kind of always pick on Lee Wallace. And Lee Wallace, like,
what for?
I don't know, mate. He used to shout for his room, Lee Wallace! He was so laid back, man. What is it? So they two a bit, but nah, great guys, and I'm delighted that they've all went on and done well, because they fluke, mate. They were great players.
So could you tell back then that Lee Wallace, Robert Snodgrass, Stephen Fletcher, all these boys, could you tell that they were all going to go right to the top?
I could tell that Fletch would go to the top, man.
Yeah.
Like, Fletch had everything. There was no weakness in Fletcher's game. He could run. He was great. He's the best in the air I've seen. Honestly, he's so good in the air. Like, he's
better than PK's four headers from corners.
Harry Kenneth was marking PK that day. Fletch took him. I think Fletch said, like, this is what I love about Fletch. Fletch is a proper, like, no arrogant.
Yeah.
So much faith in his ability. I think Fletch put his hand up and he's like, I'll take PK at corners in the final. I think PK got ahead of the whole game. But like, Fletch had that confidence in himself, mate. You could just tell. And I used to love playing with him as a centre midfielder. So many times the ball goes up to a centre forward, you run off him, and they want to take that extra touch, and they want to try a wee flick. Every time the ball would go up to Fletch, I'd run off him, bang, straight in my path, get it wide, and we get the ball in the box. But that's the thing with Fletch, like, and I tell young kids this now. I see young kids that play up front and they're obsessed. Even boys at first team level, Peterhead and guys like that, they're obsessed with doing tricks and flicks. And I see the best players like Fletch just set the ball would go wide, and he'd get in the box and he'd score a goal. He did the simple things very well, mate. Lee Wallace was the same. Pass the ball and he'd run round his fullback and he'd go up and down all day. And it was nothing outstanding, but not once was there a misplaced pass, or not once was there miss a tackle. Do you know what I mean? It was like these simple things that they guys done well. Snoddy was different, because Snoddy, your typical player that he is, could have stinkers, man, and you think, wow, Snoddy, what a nightmare. And the next game he'd be unbelievable. But he was just that kind of guy, because he would try these things. But again, as young Scottish players, mate, we were never ever told, stop trying that hard pass. It was make your own decisions, and if the majority of them are bad, then you'll no play. If the majority of them are good, you'll play. And that was it, mate. There was no, I hate now, mate, when I stand on the side and I hear coaches shouting, pass. Why? Pass if it's not a pass. If it's not, then run it. So there was none of that. Like, Archie Gemmill never ever gave you, try to talk you through the game. It was go and make your own mind up, and obviously good players, it worked.
I mean, he's obviously done brilliant. A lot of those boys have went on to have brilliant careers. So when you came back from that trip, you rejoined with the reserves at Celtic. Did you think it was now time for you to push on to the first team at all?
That was it, mate. So we were all coming back thinking, we'll be in the first team.
Aye.
And I think Gordon Strachan came out with an article, was like, or I think he pulled this in, he's like, amazing what you've done, but doesn't mean anything to me. Like, but he was right, mate. Like, he had guys like Neil Lennon, Petrov, top players, mate. So, but I said about my ankle and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, mate, I wasn't good enough to get by guys like that. They were top class players at the time at Celtic. Mate, when you were training against them, you couldn't get a kick. Like, I think Petrov was only maybe 4 years older than me. Maybe a wee bit old. I don't know what age Petrov was, but in terms of his physique, and he was a man, mate. Like,
great player.
I could play against Petrov in training, mate. He would run over the top of me. So, and then Petrov leaves, and I think I started getting on the bench and stuff like that, and then Celtic go and sign Roy Keane, mate, and you're back to having no chance of playing. So what can you do, mate? Just the way the club was at that time, mate, they were still signing very good players, so very tough. You had to be exceptional. Like I always say, McGeady was exceptional, Maloney was exceptional, and that's why they went and done it, mate. None of the day were being lucky or going out too much. It was that they were exceptional, and that's what you had to be to get in that team. You
mentioned that Roy Keane came in there. What was he like for the young boys? He must have had some brilliant stories for us.
You know what, mate? He was ruthless. Like he would proper you. What that would be everyone. You know, if one of the like proper established first team players who would never usually got a word said to them, like Roy Keane would be on them all the time. Wow. He was obsessed with me as a centre midfielder, passing the ball forward. He was obsessed. Like if there was a chance to pass it forward and you passed it sideways or backwards, he would stop. Like he would stop me. But why are you doing that? You're a young kid. Pass the ball forward. And he was great at me. Like, see, training wise, I don't think I've seen him give the ball away in training for the full year that he was there. And one day we sat us up the gym. I think it was me, Aidan, Mikey McGlinchey, a couple of boys that had been with the first team, and sat and told us all the stories of Man United and that. He was totally spot on. And
brilliant.
Actually trained Christmas Day, and I remember we trained Christmas Day. It was me and Mikey McGlinchey who were we were always the 19th and 20th men, so we were always in the stand.
Yeah.
And this was at the time I think Roy had been playing, so it was all the boys that, because he took a while to get in, and we done 3 teams of 3 with the 9 boys that hadn't been playing, and it was just a tight possession, and Gordon Strachan put Roy Keane on me and Mikey's team, so it was us 3. I can't remember who the other 2 teams of 3 were, but mate, we actually done really well. And see, after it, he was like, lads, tremendous. That's what it takes to be a player. That standard there. So he did take a nasty side to him, but on the flip side, it's and I appreciate that, mate. If you're not doing well, he'd tell you, and if you've done well, he'd say, right, good, that's it, that's the standard. So, I love, obviously, he's my hero growing up, mate. So being able to watch him train every day was brilliant.
And another big influence for you, similar position, similar to Roy Keane, similar type of player, must have been Neil Lennon. Would I be right in saying he was your reserves manager at one point?
Lenny was brilliant with me. I loved him. Again, as a player, mate, used to hammer me all the time, mate. But he only done it because he wanted you to be a better player, mate, and he wanted you to get used to what it was going to be like if you were going to play in the Celtic first team. That this is how it's going to go down. If you give the ball away, we'll rip your head off, man. But then at the same time, I remember sometimes you'd train and he would slaughter you the full session, and after training you'd be Lenny thinks I'm hopeless, man. And then you'd go up to Celtic Park to do the jobs, and he'd be you, come here. And you'd go over and he'd put his hand on and you'd be why? What was that today? You're a much better player than that. See that one that you done, you got that here. Why did you do that? Why did you not do that? And you think, he wants me to do well. And that's what I mean about young players now. I don't know if first team players do that with young players now. As I say, it's hard for me to say because I'm not in an academy as a coach, so I can't see it. But see at Peterhead, the boys will probably think that I slaughter them all the time. But it's only because I want them to be better players, mate. It's not because I hate them or I think they're hopeless. If I thought they were hopeless, mate, I wouldn't shout at them. I would just let them get on with it. You know what I mean? So, as I say, and I went to Swindon, mate, and it was Swindon was one of the most ruthless dressing rooms ever. And the reason that I done well there, mate, is because I'd had that upbringing already, so it wasn't a shock to me. I could deal with it. Whereas I seen other kids come in on loan, and they couldn't handle it, mate, because the boys were so hard on them. So I thank him because see now in football, mate, anyway, or even this, see when I'm doing the open goal stuff, people can spot on me, mate, and it doesn't bother me. I've had it since I was 15-year-old, so and it's down to them. And again, Lenny as a reserve manager was spot on with me. He was the one that says to me, "Listen, Si, get out on loan. No good for you playing reserve football anymore. Go to Swindon, go on loan." And then I came back and he was the first team manager. And again, he's spot on with me, Lenny. Honestly, I don't know why, but even now I still see him. He sits and talks away for ages, asks how you're getting on. So, can't speak highly enough of him. And
could you tell back then that he was going to go on to be a Celtic legend as a manager as well as being a player?
100%, mate. See, if you lost a reserve game, mate, it was like you'd just been beating the World Cup final.
Wow.
A reserve game's a friendly, really, mate. Do you know what I mean? It's like you go down and play Blackburn and that, and see if you got beat, mate, he'd be in the dressing room for 2 hours and he'd roast you, man. Mate, it's not even that. Well, it's just he's obsessed with winning, mate. Yeah. I don't think people realise how obsessed Lenny is with winning. I mean, a training game as well. See if the standard wasn't good in a reserve training session, mate, he'd stop it and you would just run it. He'd stop the session, he's like, nah, not good enough. Get on the line and you'd run.
Do you think that's what top managers need? Do you think that they need that, especially in Scotland, that ruthless streak to go on and become serial winners?
I think if you're going to be the Celtic manager, it's a must, isn't it? And it's the same as a Rangers manager, and that's the thing as well now. If you're going to be at Celtic, do you just get to the first team and switch on that winning mentality? You need to hit for a kid. Everything we done with Tommy Burns was about winning, mate. We'd play with 3v3 games in the size of the 18-yard box. And it was about winning, mate. He wanted to see who was a winner. And they'd always make a big deal of the 3 that won. And even anything with Tommy, it was always a competition. See, like a warm-up with dribbling in out of cones, it was a competition. Who's going to be the winning team? Who's going to win? So again, as I say, the upbringing that I had for being a young kid, it was about winning. To being in the first team with them, it was about winning. So, a lot to thank that upbringing, as I say, that upbringing at Celtic.
And now, one of your favourite players that you grew up playing with, was Thomas Gravesen, who signs for Celtic from Real Madrid in the same summer that you've got to the final of the Euros, and then within a few months he's playing in midfield beside you in the reserve team. Can you tell us some of your best memories of Tommy Gravesen?
Mate, I used to love away trips with Tommy, because I used to sit at the back of the bus with him and just pepper him with questions, man. Shut up, lad! I can't get a minute with you, lad. And mate, like, that's what I'm saying. Tommy Gravesen, right? And I remember times if you looked up the back of the bus, Tommy'd be wrestling with boys, on the back seat of the bus. He just grabs somebody, mate. Grab you, come on, lad, you're coming with me, lad, up the back of the bus, and he would just fling you about, man. He couldn't sit still, mate. And the best, I used to love it, mate, but he used to do my nothing at times, because, like, at times he could be too much, Like, you'd be training the first team, mate, and you obviously want to impress Gordon Strachan, mate. And the game's going on, and you're running, mate, and he just grabs you by the throat while the game's going on. No, you're not going anywhere, lad. I'm like, Tommy, man, you're going to get me put back into the reserves. But, mate, honestly, what a good guy. He's another one as well, mate. He would slaughter me all the time, mate. Like, I can't moan, mate. Like, I could be a bit of a moan. And every time I moaned, if you're not happy, Simon, go working Sainsbury's, lad. You don't need to be here. He was so funny, mate. But what a player, honestly. What a player. And what a good guy as well, mate. Like, see with the young boys, honestly, like, if you were sitting next to a first team player, mate, he would treat you no differently. Like, if it was me sitting there and, let's say, Lenny or somebody sitting there, mate, it would be complete same. He was spot on, young boys, honestly, like, proper nice guy. Could ask him any and he would tell you, like, the truth. He loved Fat Ronaldo, Fat Ronaldo was his best.
Oh, really?
Player. So see, when you ever get body fats, he'd be like, why are we doing body fats? Ronaldo's the best player in the world and he's fat. That's the thing, lad.
Did he play with him at Real Madrid?
He played with the Galacticos, mate.
Oh, really?
So
wow.
You need to go and put the video on with Zidane on YouTube, mate, when he's screaming Zizou at Zidane. Looking at him, who is this guy? He came to Ireland and all of us, mate. He was on massive, but he didn't need to come. He asked to come on the reserve trip. 2 weeks, mate, in Ireland. Like, any other person player would be like, absolutely not, man. Tommy loved it. Absolutely loved it, mate. Bounced about Ireland for 2 weeks. And he used to play centre mid, man. He would just go and stand out on the left wing, man. He'd get the ball, like, thinking he's going to be like 10 yards away to pass you, and he was just looking, just have his hand up. Like, yards away from you. I'm thinking, what's he doing over there? But he was, head tennis, he's the best head tennis player I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
He used to overhead kick it in head tennis, so you'd set the ball up for him, you'd think he was going to head it, and he would just go overhead kick, bang, in every time, like, ridiculous player. Kelly and Sheridan told the story. He used to do that to boys all the time as well. He would, like, leather the ball off you for 2 yards, shouting at Kelly, you need iron, lad, you need iron. And the hero, mate, honestly, total hero.
It sounds brilliant, just like one of the kids, one of the boys. But fortunately, it wasn't all plain sailing in your time as a youth player. You mentioned that you missed, was it 2.5 years because of the ankle injury? How tough mentally was it to deal with that at such a young age as well?
Horrible, mate. Like, there was a couple of times in that where, like, surgeons and that said, like, you'll probably not play football again. And it was, I'd been flat at that time as well, mate, which is probably the worst thing ever. Going back to a flat, and I was. Yeah. And then I've told you the story hundreds of times. Like, I went to a surgeon and he said, if this operation doesn't work, then you'll be done. That'll be you finished. And told Tommy, obviously, and Tommy's like, you alright? And I was saying, I'm fine. But my mum was a wreck, man. She was great. And so got him at night. My mum phoned us and says, Tommy, mum's phoned my work today and said that obviously whatever happens, you'll sort us out. So it was tough, mate. Really tough. Living away from home, you're not going home to your brother and your mum and dad. You're going back to a flat. But see, like Gordon Strachan, mate, he was brilliant with me. I used to sit in the gym every day and look out onto the training pitch and sit and ride a bike for hours on end, man. He'd come and sit next to me on the bike and he'd be like, don't worry, man, you'll be fine in life. Like, your personality will get you through it. And even, like, I remember being out for ages and I'd been training with the reserves like a week. And I think it was Lenny who was the reserve manager. And Lenny's like, the gaffer's wanting you to go and train with the first team with it. And I was like, what? And then I went to train with the first team and done quite well, I think. And in his press conference that day, he was like, I think it was Massimo Donati that had been complaining about no getting enough game time or something, and just done a full press conference and like, Massimo Donati's got complaints. He should look at Simon Ferry, who's been out for 2 years, came in today in training and has been outstanding. So because of that, he'll be in the squad for the weekend. But I'd only been training like a week after being out for so long, and he put me in the first team squad at the weekend. So I don't think, as I say, I think Paul McGowan's told a story, Kellyan's told a story about him. I don't think I was there because I'd done really well, to be honest, mate. I think he'd done it to give us a boost, and people didn't see that side of Gordon Hill. He would never hold his hands up and say that's why I done it, but just the wee things like he was spot on with me.
And you mentioned Gordon Strachan and Tommy Burns being massive influences when you were injured. When you recovered from that injury, you mentioned that you were back in the first team squad. How much of a taste of first team action did you get in and amongst that squad before you went on loan to Swindon?
So was it just before? Who was it? Mowbray came in, didn't it? So it was Strachan before Mowbray. I was on the bench quite a lot, and I used to, please put me on, man. We were beating Dunfermline. I was on the bench. I think it was my first time on the bench actually. Lenny scored, didn't he? Beat Dunfermline 8-0. 8-0, and I was thinking, surely I'm going on, man. The problem was, mate, like, so on the bench with me, it was like Stephen Pearson. I think Zaraski was on the bench. Like, it was good players, mate. Like, and Strachan came out in the press after it. I think he had a meeting in the dressing room. He's like, like, you didn't deserve to play. Like, if you'd been doing better than what Stephen Pearson had in training, you'd have got on. And it was right. He was right, mate. Eh? Like, if he'd have put me on, it wouldn't have been justified. So, absolutely spot on. And again, that's part of your upbringing, mate. That he's so honest with you, and you get there on merit. It's not through just because people in the press want to see a young Scottish kid come on and play. It's like you've got to earn it. So, on the bench a lot of times, which was amazing because you get the win bonus, mate. Which
happy days.
I've never been so happy, mate. I've never celebrated goals like that. See, when Celtic used to score, mate, I used to go off man up, man, because you know you were getting a win bonus. I was actually in me and Mikey McGlinchey were the 19th and 20th men at Tynecastle. It was just before Christmas, I think it was. And we were 2 down, man, and we were pure banking on that. I think it was 600 quid you got for sitting in the stand. I know, okay, it's scary, innit? And we were banking on that before the game. We were like, 600 quid just before Christmas, man. Be able to get dad presents, mate. And Celtic were 2 down at half time. Me and Mikey were in the stand like that. Devastated, man. And Celtic came back, right, to 2 each. And we were like, please score, please score. I think it was like 5 minutes to go, and Mikey's like, we're not scoring, man. Let's just go in. So 5 minutes just so we can, because we used to love getting in the dressing room, mate, to hear what the manager and that said.
Aye.
And Celtic scored on the telly in the Hearts Players Lounge, and I would have loved to have seen what me and Mikey looked like to the Hearts. Jumping up and down, mate, and they gave us the dirtiest look ever, but just knowing you were getting that win bonus, mate, was unbelievable. Eh?
And then after then, the fun starts. You get the loan move to Swindon Town. How did the move to Swindon come about?
So the move came about because Tony Mowbray thought I was a bit of a clown, which I probably was, mate. Again, these managers are wrong. And I remember we went to Australia for a pre-season game, and I think before the game I was like having a laugh and a joke, like when you think back, mate, what you doing? Like, not even played a single appearance, but having a pure carry on before the game, and he pulled me before the game. He's like, "Are you always like this?" And I was like what? He's like, carry on, and I was like, and he's like, right, see, when we get back to the thing, you're going to need to go on loan because you need to like understand what first team football is about. Like, it's not like a laugh and a joke. It's a serious business, man. And then Peter Grant and Mark Venus were really good to me, man. They liked me, so I think it was either Vino or Peter Grant's mate was the assistant manager at Swindon, Peter Shutlift, who was a great guy, man. Loved him. And I got back to Australia, and Mowbray pulled in the office, and he went, "You're going to Swindon tomorrow. Get your boots, get everything out. You're going." And I had no choice, mate. Eh? But mate, see, getting a loan move to Swindon, and I was like, "Swindon? Who's Swindon, man? Like, never heard." I was like, "What league are they in?" And he's like, "He's like, why are you asking? Just you're going. That's it." He says, "Luckily for you, because you can't drive, Ben Hutchison's going as well." And I was like, "Right, no worries." So me and Ben drove down to Swindon. I was buzzing, mate. So buzzing, like, couldn't wait to get done. And Ben was like, yeah. He's like, it's League One, we'll rip it up, man. You didn't realise how good the team was, mate. We got there on the first day, and I remember thinking, this is a decent team, like. And I done really well, mate. I think I done really well the first 2 days in training, and Danny Wilson pulled me, who's another great guy. I loved him as a manager. Pulled me on the Friday, and he's like, he says, I wasn't going to play you Saturday. He says, but you've done that well. I'm going to put you in. Put us in, mate, and got man of the match on my debut home to Southend.
Wow.
And see, for that minute, mate, when that first whistle went on my debut for Swindon, within 5 minutes, I was like, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to do really well here. I could just tell by the way the team played. I was playing next to a top player centre midfielder, Jonathan Douglas, who basically talked us through the full game, mate. Talked me through the whole game, like, nah, you're not wrong position, two yards over there. Yes, just bounce it. And he, mate, honestly, unbelievable guy.
Brilliant.
I played 12 caps for the Republic of Ireland, and I was like, I knew after that game, I'm going to love it here, and that was the best year of my life. Like, the dressing room we had, the night suit we had, the manager, the assistant manager, the staff were in Swindon, winning every week. We beat Leeds home and away, mate, 3-0. 3-0 away, battered them. And just getting that taste of first team football, mate, absolutely loved it.
So you mentioned Jonathan Douglas there. I was going to ask you, so who were the top players in Swindon that year? And were you actually surprised with the standard of player that was in League One at that time? I
was, mate. Honestly, you think League One like rubbish, but that year, mate, Southampton were in the league with Lallana, who was a joke.
Oh, was that the team with Lambert and all the rest of it as well? Aye.
Yeah, Lambert, what a player he was. Yeah. We beat them home and away as well. Beat Southampton home and away.
Wow.
So that tells you how good our team was. Like, we'd beat Norwich had Grant Holt and Wes Hoolahan up front. They were brilliant, Norwich. But for us, mate, like, Gordon Greer was... And that's the thing that annoys me as well. People in Scotland probably think, when they hear of Gordon Greer at Kelly, and think, oh, he's probably no great. But honestly, right, mate, Gordon Greer, what a good football player, eh? Like, we used to play it for the back. Danny Wilson wanted us to play football, eh? Like, and Gordy would get the ball, mate, and he could ping the ball like 50 yards with his left foot, 50 yards with his right foot. Absolute warrior. Again, another one. If you weren't doing it, man, he would be on you constantly. But I love that, mate. I loved it. Like a proper old school centre half. Would elbow people in the face. Would fight in training every day. And then Jonathan Douglas, who played next to me, was really good. And then the spine of the team, mate, because up front we had Charlie Austin, who was sensational, man.
What a player.
Total animal, mate. Like, see that spine of Gordon, Dougie and Charlie, see the three of them, mate, animals, eh? Like, so dirty. See Charlie Austin, mate, people didn't realise he's one of the dirtiest players I've ever watched, mate, and he would bash people about, man. JP McGovern played on the wing, very good. Danny Ward, who's now at Cardiff. QPR, is it, Wardney? Very good. Scott Cuthbert done really well, came with me for set with a good goal in Dave Lucas. So Billy Painter up front as well, total character, mate. The dressing room was brilliant, mate, honestly. Everyone in that team, again, somewhat the Celtic team on it, obviously, much lesser extent, but proper winners, mate. Like, there'd be fights all the time, fights every day, arguments, but then you'd be best pals and you'd go out at night. So perfect blend that we had. And the manager, Danny Wilson, who managed in the Premier League with Sheffield Wednesday, remember the Canio pushed the ref? He was the manager.
that game?
So he'd seen it all, mate. He was a total top manager. I love Danny Wilson.
And that team very successful. We managed to get to the final of the playoffs that season, playing in front of 73,000 at Wembley. How did it feel to play in such a big game? I mean, everybody loves the playoffs. What was that like?
The two semi-finals were the best, mate.
Oh, really?
So we beat Charlton 2-1 at home. 2-1 at home, and then we went to Charlton away, and we're cruising, mate. I think the game's 0-0, and Big Gordy, as I say, he was a bit of a screwball, man. Ball bounces up, mate. There's a picture that I'm standing 2 yards from him, right, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. The ball bounced, right, and I went, he's going to boot him here. And he's just the ball. I don't know where the ball is actually, but he just went like that. Bang! Button, mate. Just boots him in the chest, man. I'm looking, he's like that. Mate, see if we were going to be like 3-0 or something, I could understand it, but like, we're under no pressure. He's just totally lost his head, Gordy. So we went into 10 men, early doors, man. It was a slog. I scored an own goal.
I read about that. I heard that was a beauty.
Do you know what, mate? All my mates are watching on telly, and see when you score all that I could think of is my mates are going to be slaughtering me in the group chat right now, man. That was what was going through my head as I walked back to the circle, but like that night, Danny Ward and Charlie Austin played up front, and they two were sensational. I think they got us a goal. JP done really well, actually, put Danny Ward through, and we got a goal. And then when it went to penalty, we knew we'd beat them, because it's just something about that year that we knew that we were going to get to the final. Man, Danny Wilson said it before the game. He says, "I'm not worried. We're getting to the final here." He says, "It might not be pretty. Things might toss and turn, but we'll be in that final come after this game." And the dressing room after it, mate, was unbelievable. Champagne. I think we stayed at the Valley till about 12 o'clock at night. Honestly, we were just so high, mate. And because Swindon were tipped to go down that year. I think it was in 4-4-2 or something. They were the tip to go down. So the bad thing is about that, mate. See, when you win the semi-final, you need to wait 2 weeks to the final, which kind of kills it.
Is it as long as that? 2 weeks? Wow.
2 weeks. The Danny Wilson gave us like 4 days off, mate. I think every single one of us were steaming for 4 days. Some boys went to Marbella, mate. Like, how? What we thinking? But the final was a pure. Millwall were kind of our bogey team, mate. We like to get the ball down and play that year, and Millwall total stifled us all the time. Like they were 11 big men that just knew how to win. And that Wembley final, as you're saying, mate, I never got nervous at Swindon. I couldn't wait for a Saturday, mate. Honestly, I hated Monday, Tuesday, and I hated it, man. And just couldn't wait for a Saturday. And that Wembley game was the only game that I've ever been nervous. See, when you stand at Wembley, mate, and you can see the crowd and it's full, and the smoke, the fireworks are going up. The
fireworks at the start, yeah.
They're roasting, by the way, honestly. But see, in the tunnel...
Is that where you got the tan from? Is that...
That's mate. I went to Wembley at the weekend. In the tunnel, so Millwall had got beat the year before. They'd lost the League One playoff final the year before. So they were obviously determined not to happen again. And in the tunnel, I don't know if maybe this happened to them the year before, in the tunnel, I can remember them looking at us and saying, "Look at them, they're absolutely, can't swear on here, but they're absolutely doing themselves." And I remember thinking, how does he know that I'm so scared? But I went out and the game was terrible, mate. They score a goal for a corner comes in. I think the captain's backing into our goal and he just kind of hooks it in the net. I think that was probably the only shot on target. Charlie goes through with 10 minutes to go. Charlie never missed a chance all season, mate, honestly. Any chance Charlie got, bang, goal. He's running through. We're thinking, this is a goal. I actually think, if there is a video, mate, when Charlie's in the box, I think I turned to go back to the centre circle because I think we scored. And the ball's in Rose Ed. And see, if you look back, just as Charlie goes to hit it, the Wembley turf wasn't great. The ball just bounces up and it hits his shin, mate, and it goes. And I still think back, mate, see, like, fine margins in football. If we win that game, I got the championship, my career's completely different.
I know.
But wasn't meant to be. And to be fair, Millwall were a good team. They had some good players, so fair play to them.
So after then, you returned to Celtic from your loan spell in for that pre-season. Do you fancy your chances at all of breaking into the Celtic first team? Was that in your mind?
Because Lenny had got the job, maybe, but like, I had my heart set on going to Swindon, mate.
Yeah.
Danny Wilson pulled us and said, like, this is what we'll be offering you. We're pretty sure that Celtic will sell us, like, and I was buzzing, mate. Like, he said, 4-year deal, go up next year, and then I went back to Celtic, and Lenny shouted on us the first day, mate. He took us up to the office and absolutely slaughtered us, man. Him, Gary Parker, and Alan Thompson. It was a great. They were brilliant, mate. I loved them.
Yeah.
Again, just keep my feet on the ground, mate. Just absolutely slaughtered. He's like, what? You done well for Swindon in League One? This is Celtic, like. Don't badmouth, because I think I said in an article, I don't know how they even got it, mate, but I think I said, like, there's no way I'm going back to Celtic to no play. I'm Swindon next year. They slaughtered us, mate. But that's it. Again, the things that Lenny doesn't see, like how much he loves Celtic, mate. Like, well, no, I was like, there's no way I'm having a 21-year-old kid badmouthing the club. Obviously, I didn't mean I wasn't badmouthing the club, but
aye.
And he was like, right, you're coming to America with us. He says, if you impress us, because he said, if you impress us, then I don't want you to go to Swindon. He actually says to me, Lenny, he says, I think you're better than, I think you can get a championship club in England. Like, I don't think you should go to League One. And then I went to America. I done really well in the games in training in America. I think we played Seattle. I put Sammy through a nice pass and he went down and got a penalty against Seattle and he scored it. And after the game, he made a big deal about my performance. Like, he's like, that's what I'm expecting for a player that I want to play in my team. And then obviously we had the night out and me and Paul McGinn made a total. Charlie Mulgrew, mate. See, Charlie always gets me in trouble, man. He's sitting next to me in my ear doing day this, day that. fling that pizza and that night sponsor, mate. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? So, and I've told the story as well. Like Lenny had a kangaroo court, and me and Gowser got absolutely hammered in it. And then even when Lenny was like, to me, "We're not Swindon. I know offering enough money for you and Cadge. I'm not going." It's like, "You should stay here." He says, "You'll come on and I'll get you minutes here and there." But I was on the phone to Danny Wilson all the time, so I was desperate to go, mate. Just loved all the boys down there and that. And when I did eventually go to leave, as I say, Lenny pulled us in his office. Never forget it. He's like, "Never changed, kid." He says, "Never changed the personality you are." He says, "Brilliant, infectious." He says, "All right, you do a couple of stupid things," but he says, and then he just wished us all the best. And top man, absolutely top man. And he knew I wanted to go, mate. So he kind of done a few things to help us get there. So thank him for that as well.
So was the offer from Swindon always on the table then? Was it just a case of whether Celtic would let it go through or not?
I actually pure cleared up on my flat, sitting in my mum. I think it was my missus' car, and my agent phoned. He's like, "Celtic have just knocked back another bid, man." I was like, "I've got nowhere to stay." I'd actually rented my flat, thinking that I was going, so I was pure panicking, man. And then I think like 2 hours later, he phoned and says, "Swindon, I'm going to pay a wee bit extra." And Paul Caddis phoned me as well, which is brilliant, because I love to be Cads.
Great player.
What a player! And he phoned me up. Me and him were going mad on the phone, buzzing, and picked me up. And then that was it. Mate, picked me up. And we went down to Swindon.
Now, obviously, you've loved Swindon. What a club you done well there. But that season, your first season, when you made the permanent switch, was a bit tougher than the others. You were then relegated to League Two. How do you think it all went wrong that season? It's just a season after you've got to nearly the Championship. As you said, Charlie Austin, 1 goal away from the Championship, and then next thing you know, you're in League Two. What went wrong?
Well, I signed again, and when I got down there, Danny Wilson said it was sold Gordon Greer. And I was like, why? Why is he the best player? To Brighton, what a career he had at Brighton. I think he had 5 great years. I think Championship. And we're going to play. We've got a young kid coming through, Sean Morrison, who's now the captain of Cardiff. Now, Sean is a tremendous centre half, mate. But playing League One football with 2 young centre halves is and I say it at Peterhead as well. I've said it on interviews as well. For me, you need an experienced centre back. One experienced centre backs, and we never had that. Never had it. Gordy would get on people. But you're asking Big Sean at 19 to come in and do that, and obviously it wasn't really in Sean's nature. Sean's the only centre half I know that's a lunatic. And maybe like always up for a carry on, wants a laugh all the time. Usually like centre halves are big, serious guys, and Sean was just up for a carry on constantly. It was so Charlie Austin, mate, which I had to because he wanted to go and big teams were coming on. Yeah. And we brought this guy in called Thomas De Sevi, right? So my first game, Nottingham Forest, that me and Cad sat in the stand actually because we just signed, and he looked amazing, man. I think he was Tongo, and Danny Wilson signed him, and after that, mate, just couldn't tie his shoelaces together, man. Honestly, just kept running offside, mate. We actually sat him down one day and we were like, "Do you understand offside? Like this side of the defender, you're offside, mate. Just run offside all the time, eh?" So again, mate, for me, I want to be a manager, a coach. Spine of your team, mate, for me, it's so important, man. And we lost, obviously, our centre half in Gordy, and then our centre forward in Charlie, and 2 boxes, mate. But if you're not good in either box, then quite often you'll lose games and you'll end up getting relegated. So players, mate, and as I say, players make teams, man. And then heard the news when I was lying in my bed on the Canio got the job, man. I was buzzing. So buzzing, eh? So
no
buzzing.
wonder.
And I actually, my mate phoned us, one of my mates in Swindon phoned us and says, "The Canio's got the job." And I was like, "Oh, mate, 5-a-sides every day, man. How good is this going to be?" And he turned up, mate, and it was not 1 5-a-side in 18 months. It was the hardest 18 months of my life, but the best.
So you said you were obviously buzzing when Canio gets the job. Everyone would be massive name. Great character as well. You fought 5-a-sides every day, but obviously that wasn't the case. So what was the first time that you ever spoke to Paolo Di Canio? What did they say to you?
So I don't know if you watched Matt Ritchie's the other day. So
I did, yeah.
We all turned up, and you could tell he's fuming, man. We were like, "How can he be fuming? It's the first day." He was like looking at the group, and he was like, "Lads, I'm going to be honest. I don't like what I see." And I was like, what? And he was like, everyone very fat. Body language terrible, lads. He's like, under me, that was the day. He's like, under me, your English way, your kind of swear crappy English way, gone. Wednesday off? No. Sunday off? No. We're in 7 days a week.
7 days a week?
Yeah. 7 days a week. And I remember, I was like, Cads was standing next to me, Paul Caddis, and every time he said something, I was like that. Like, no way. He'd be like, no ice in your drinks, no butter. Everyone's wait us to come down. And then he obviously pulled Matty Ritchie and called him a fat little piggy. But after that, we had to go on and get a training kit on, and then he was standing with the sports coach and taking everyone's weight. And I remember taking my top off in the dressing room. The boys were like to me, "Oh, you have had a very good summer, man. You are in for it here." Mate, I was sweating. See, waiting. I think I was like 8th in the queue. I was sweating, man, thinking, "What is this going to be, my weight?" Stood on the scales, mate, and he has flipped, man. He's looking up and down. He's like, "How is this possible? 5'9", 80 kilo? No, mamma mia!" He's like, he's shouting, "He's the fat boy. He is the fat boy." And he's like, "No, Simon." He's like, "Simon, no." He says, "You don't play a game." He says, "I can't have you going out there representing me looking like this." He says, "My team is a representation of me." He says, "If you want to play in my team, you have to get to 72 kilo." He says, "Must. Otherwise, you train, you run, but you don't play." Mate, see, since that, right? And I hated him, mate, and he hated me. And again, I'm phoning my agent saying, "Get me out of here, man. Get me out of here now." And then we done training, and he's like, his training was the hardest thing. He's so tired, right? And everyone would walk off, and he'd be like to me, "Fat boy, where do you think you're going? Me and you, we run." I loved that about him, though.
Did he do it with you then? Did he run with you?
See, when I'm running with him, he's like, why do you want to be like this? I can tell in training you're a good player, technically good. Why you want to be like this? He used to say that to me all the time, mate. Why you want to be like this? And he would do the runs with us, mate, and slowly but surely I got my weight down. And then see, when I remember, I think I got to 72, and he came up to me. I think I got on the scale 72, and this is what was good about him. It could be horrible to you, mate, right? And then once I got to 72, he starts grabbing my face, and he's like, "Look at those beautiful cheekbones. Look at those." He's like, "Why would you ever want to have big fat cheeks when you can look like this?" And mate, that made you feel loving, man. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
But then that's him liking me again, so I'm part of the squad, and I'm doing really well, mate. Like, the two guys that are playing ahead of me, like, no disrespect, should never be playing ahead of me. I knew that. Even the guy that was toy shouldn't be playing ahead of me. So we play Burnley, and I'm thinking, me and Canio are pals now. Like, we're getting on well. He liked my clothes and that. He was quite trendy. He liked what I wore.
Right. Yeah.
Part of that, he liked to laugh at me. So we're playing Burnley, right? And I'm sitting on the bench. I'm raging that I'm on the bench. I thought I'd be playing, and mate, it gets to like 70 minutes, right? And I look round and I'm like, everyone else had been on, and I was sitting there, right? So it was me and a young boy that was sitting there. So it gets to 80 minutes, and he goes to the young boy, "Louis, you're going on." And I remember I think I just chucked my fingers down. And he's like, "What? What is it? What?" He's like, "Go and warm up, you go on." And I was like, nah, I'm not going on. Mate, see, after that game, he went ballistic, man. He's like, "You do okay now, you're right, even further down than where you were before." He's like, "You never play for me." He says, "It'll take a miracle for you." He says, "Before tonight, there was 3 ahead of you, now there's 4. He moves ahead of you. Your 5th choice centre midfielder. If you want to call your agent, you can go." So again, for my agent, I was like, "You need to get me out of here. I'm never going to play. I can't have 2 years of not playing football, man. Otherwise, I'm finished." And I think I'd spoke to Chesterfield about going there. John Sheridan was the manager. He always quite liked me.
Yeah.
And I was actually Rafa De Vita was like to me, "Mate, stick it out, man. I think because he spoke to him in Italian. He's like, he kind of likes that you stood up to him, because obviously he was a bit like that, wasn't he? So he was like, "I think you should stay." And I think Chesterfield, I'd need to take a wage reduction on me. So I think I was like, "I'll stay until like the end of the window, see what happens. If it doesn't get any better, then I'll go down." And then it was just lucky for me, mate. The team had an absolute shocker. I think he won his first game 2-0, but it was fluky. We never played well. And I was sitting on the side again, unused sub, and then the guy that was playing ahead of me, mate, scores. Has a shocker, But just my luck at the time, mate, ball comes to him like about a minute to go, he takes a touch and volleys at the top, like a total hit and hold, man. Over the keeper's head, and I'm like,
no.
So then we lose, mate. We lose the next 4 games, Never forget this. We're going to the bus. Me and Cads are going to Dagenham. We're going to Dagenham. We'd lost 3. This was the 5th game of the season. Lost 3 in a row. And Cads had to me, mate, Gaffer just pulled. And I was like, you kidding? He's like, no, he pulled us and said, like, want to play Simon. He says, I was going to play Simon tonight, but because Dagenham are big and strong and physical, I'm going to go with the 2 that have been playing. And maybe when 20 minutes to go, we'll bring Simon on. And I was like, right, whatever. So we go down to 10 men within 10 minutes. So we get beat. I didn't even get on again. And I'm at the Cads. He's playing with my mind, man. He knows what you're going to do. He's winding me up. He's telling you this so that you come and tell me, and then he's not putting me on so that to get me even angrier. So again, sitting all week thinking, I need to get out here, man. But he pulls me in the office that Friday. I think that was a Tuesday night game. Pulls me in the office that Friday, and he's like, okay, fat boy, tomorrow you play. One chance. He says, it's up to you. How you want to do it? You want to come and play for me? This is your chance tomorrow. I was playing Oxford in the derby, mate, and that's a massive game. Like it's a full house. And he says, you play it and we'll see how you get on. So I played really well, mate. I got beat. And after the game, he was like, okay. He says, you play again next week, okay. And then went on, and bear in mind, I missed the first 5 games, not even getting on the pitch in that year. And he was brilliant, mate, honestly. Brilliant. Just knew how to get the best of you, man. Like, he knew that I needed a guy that shouted in my face all the time. And he knew that and then he would know that other guys didn't need that, so he wouldn't have dated them as much. But like, totally saved my career, mate. Because see, if I went to Chesterfield, mate, I'd have been that same wee guy that never done enough, never lived his life properly. Completely changed my outlook on how people should live and train. And he was brilliant, man. Like, tactically, and his coaching was top class. So then at the end of that season, mate, he phoned us, never forget it. I was in the car actually with my missus, and he's like, Simon, I just want to thank you. He says, you stood up to me. You not stood up to me. You proved me wrong. He says, I'll always respect for that. And he says, the full time I'm at Swindon Town, no matter how you play from now. He says that you'll be there the whole time that I'm there. It was a great phone call, mate. So I was buzzing. What a guy! I love him.
You speak very highly of Paolo Di Canio, and sounds like some of the methods he had dealing with you, not just as players but as people, were brilliant. Did you think when he left Swindon that he was going to go on and become a great manager after then? Mate,
I thought he was going to the top.
Really? Wow.
We all used to say, like, we had boys that had played at a very high level that come to us, and they used to say like, don't know if you'll do it at the top level, but because I off the handle, mate. Crazy, He can just fly off the handle. Well, you think this is nothing, like, there's no way he's going to be angry with this, mate, and he just flips. And when he flips, though, mate, it's not like it is you're thinking he is going to leather me, man. So the older boys used to say, don't know if he'll be able to date up there, but they used to say, coaching wise, mate, like, see, you knew every last detail what the team you were playing against. This is what will work against this team. That's the only time I've ever had a manager who you work on something Monday to Friday and then you would actually see it happening on a Saturday. Like, it wasn't just, let's go out here and hopefully we play better than them. It was pure, every corner was because that team had this, didn't do well, this, that didn't do this well at corners, or we're going to defend like this today because, like, we played Burnley, mate, and you think, go press, but he never, he was like, now we're sitting on the halfway line. And then when we get it, they're not good at when they lose it and then they need to recover quickly. So when we win it like back, lads, we're going to go bump, and score. And mate, and it worked, eh? Like, we beat Burnley, we beat Brighton, we beat Wigan in the FA Cup with Maloney and MacArthur, we beat Aston Villa, we beat loads of top teams, mate, and I was all doing his game plan and coaching.
You mentioned you beat loads of top teams there, and you went on to win League 2, and you were absolutely flying in League 1 as well. A lot of that can be down to Di Canio, but you always speak on open goal, like, very, very highly of the boys in the dressing room and that Swindon team. Who were the top boys around about Swindon during those years?
What was that, the League 2 team?
The League 2 team, and then when you got promoted to the first half of League 1.
Yeah, so we had a great dressing room again. I don't know why it's Swindon, but I always had great dressing rooms. So Aidan Flint was a great guy. Not a great guy, as in he slaughters boys, but funny man. He's so funny. He's at Cardiff now as well with Sean, isn't he? Still speak to Funny, actually. Funny, had a dry sense of humour. He was funny with Cane Boys. Cad, obviously, Cad's top man. Wes was tremendous. What a keeper Wes was for us. Who else? Matty Ritchie, like, we used to call him Busy. He's basically Gary Neville of Swindon, mate. Do you know what I mean? We used to call him Gary Neville. But what a player, mate. Honestly, like, see, for that level, he was ridiculous. Rafa De Vita, what a guy. Rafa was brilliant, actually, man. I felt sorry for Rafa, man. Speaking Italian all the time, and every time we'd at him, what's he saying? And the Canio would be staring at Rafa, man. You could tell Rafa didn't know what to tell me, but I'd just go, tell us what he's saying, man. And he'd pure listen it, and the Canio would pure. Do you know who else was? John Bostock, he was a good player.
From Spurs, was it?
Spurs, Bostock, good player. James Collins, was he there that year? I'm trying to think the strikers were the year we won League Two. Oh, Alan Connell, Paul Benson was a great guy. He was an older guy, 34. So now a great dressing room, mate. And then Luke Rooney, who does the in the box videos. I don't know if you've seen.
I've watched him. He's good. He is good.
So he was my wee drinking partner. So in January for Gillingham, and his dad's a proper Cockney, mate, like a black hat driver in London. And they'd come every game, and we'd always end up back in my house till all of us. And then we'd always go on a Sunday. That was the thing with the Canio, like we'd be in on a Sunday, mate. So we'd all go out Saturday night, and honestly, man, he used to walk up, try and smell your breath on a Sunday, because you're in Sunday, mate. You can win 5-0. You think, surely we're going to be off, man. And nah, lads, we're in tomorrow. We need to work. I'm thinking, come on, Paolo. Mate, we actually counted it up one day. We were in for 63 days in a row without a day off. Was that league season? 63 days in a row without a day off. Is that
even legal to be in that many days in a row? Probably not.
See when we were struggling to get up, like we were flying obviously, and then I think we'd lost a couple, and he pulled us in one day, right, in the office and in the meeting room, and he's like, lads, I've checked everything, checked the rules, FIFA guidelines. He says, I've gave you so many days off this year. He says, legally, in the summer, if we don't win the league, not only don't go up, if we don't win the league, I'm only going to usually get like 6 weeks in England, mate. Yeah. I only give you 14 days off in the summer. And I think I had on a face, he's like, Simon, I don't joke. Days off in the summer, So let's see stuff like that, mate. Like, we went back to the dressing room, was like, lads, we need to get the finger out, man, because he will do this. He'll only give us 14 days.
I stuck to his word all the time, yeah.
You know, mate, it wasn't a false thing, like, it would totally happen. So even the wee things, like, you might think that's horrible, but it works, mate. Like, see with the lower league players, stuff like that works. Carrots work. And he used to do that just as well sometimes. Like, he'd come, lads, if you win Saturday, massive game, we need to win. If you win, I'll give you Sunday, Monday off. And then you can go and do what you like to do. Mate, see, that Saturday, we're like dogs, man. See, because you've done a day off for like 63 days, you're absolutely chomping at the bit. I think we ended up winning like 5-0. We all went through to London for Saturday night, Sunday during the day. And that's what brings you so close together as well, mate. See, because you're suffering every day, and then you get that day out, you're all pure high as a kite.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a great balance, mate. Like, I loved it. I need somebody like that as a manager.
And then the season you got promoted, you were up into League One the following season, so that's the 2012-13 season. Absolutely flying up on top of it. January, and then slumped to a 6th place finish. Where do you think it all went wrong that season?
So see what I was saying about the Canio?
Yeah.
That summer, right? We signed older players, mate, and they were. I loved that. Was probably dressing room wise. That was my favourite year at Swindon. Like, we would be out a lot. We'd hang about with each other. We'd go to each other's houses with the girls. Like Sundays, we'd train on a Sunday, and then we'd all go out. There'd be like 14 of us with the girls and the boys, Scousers, and Jay McEverley, Gary Roberts, Tommy Miller was a Geordie, Alan Navarro was a Scouser, wee Luke Rooney was a Londoner, and that wee group, James Collins as well, who was at Hibs, great guy. His missus, me and my missus went on holiday with him and his missus at the end of that season. A guy called Joe De Vera, big Flinty was always there, so it was a real big, not just drinking, we would have a couple of pints and that, but we were all pally. They were great guys, man. Honestly, great guys. And then, so see with that, the Canio would, as I say, would keep us on a leash because you will go through you, and so you would never take it too far. Like there would never be any time you'd be out on a Thursday, or you'd go on a Saturday or a Sunday, and then that was you until next Saturday. But then the Canio left me, and it was like letting the kids at the playpen, man. It was just because it was 18 months, mate, of every day being in it, and the last 10. See when you look back, you think, what you doing, man? You're top league. you've got a chance to go up to the Championship, double your money, have a better life, but you would rather go back to going out twice a week, and just lost focus, mate. Like, I've no doubt if he stayed the manager, we'd have won that league. 100%.
Why do you think he left? Why do you think he resigned in February?
He left because the money ran out of Swindon, So he was wanting players in constantly. Like, that was another thing he'd done to keep you motivated, mate. He'd always have players in bring players in your position. You think, I need to be on it, man, because this guy's a good player. He's going to play. And Matt Ritchie went, mate, and that was the final straw for me. When Matt Ritchie went to Bournemouth, he kind of cracked, man, and you just knew that his head was gone. And then I think Sunderland probably approached him, so he resigned and just fell apart from there. And
then that summer, so obviously you don't get promoted in the summer of 2013. You moved to Portsmouth. What was the thinking behind the move to Portsmouth? Who organised that?
Well, this is a killer as well, mate. See, just before the Canio left, he was talking about giving me a new 3-year deal.
Oh, really?
Much better. So, mate, see, when he left, I was devastated, man. See, Matt Ritchie and Cads, they signed it. I think they signed it like 2 months before me. Don't know why I never done it at the same time. That's my biggest regret ever, mate. Like, I really wish that I'd signed that contract like a couple of months before. And then because a new board came in, that's why the Canio had left. And I was one of the bigger earners, so they pulled me in and like, there's no way like you'll be able to get the money that you were getting next year unless we get promoted to the Championship. He says, so if it's going to be League One, then can I keep you on that money? So I was going to go to MK Dons, mate. Like, I spoke to Carol Robinson. He's a great guy, actually funny, really funny. I met him. Gary Robertson says...
Would Slaney have been playing for MK Dons at that time?
I don't know if he was actually. I don't think so.
That could have went so bad.
He was on the bench, so imagine I went there when he was there. Oh my! And I had my hopes set. I thought I was signing for MK Dons, and Stephen Gleeson was meant to go. Stephen Gleeson was at Aberdeen. Meant to go to Wolves, I think it was. Stephen Gleeson was meant to go to Wolves, and they were going to sign me to replace Stephen Gleeson. And my agent phoned me. He's like, Gleeson's not want to go, or Wolves are not going to pay the money that Gleeson's wanting. And I was like, oh, come on, man. I had my heart set on MK Dons. You've seen their stadium, that's amazing. Yeah. The dressing room is amazing at MK Dons. And then that fell through, and then I was going to sign for Fleetwood with Graham Alexander. Met Graham Alexander at a hotel. Then basically agreed a deal on it, and then never heard from him, man. So I was in turmoil, mate, and then I done really well against Yeovil that year, and Yeovil went up through the playoffs. I was sitting in my missus' mum and dad's house, and my phone went, my agent went, you want to go to Yeovil? And I went, absolutely not. No way, man. There's no way to go to Yeovil, eh? Like, have you been to Yeovil's ground in that?
No, where is Yeovil?
Exactly, mate. Exactly. I was like that to my agent, no. Then I came in the Championship. I am not going to Yeovil. And he bet. And then the manager phoned us. Gary Johnson's like that. Just come down, see if you like it. And I was like, so what, a trial? And he's like, nah, not a trial. Just come and see if you like it.
But a trial.
A trial, mate.
Yeah.
But see that train journey down to Yeovil? I could regret it, eh? I've never had a homesick feeling because I've been away from home forever, eh? I just had my first kid, and I think I phoned every single one of my mates in my phone book on that journey down, trying to get them to convince me. And I was just one of them to say, mate, just go back up the road, man. But every one of them were like, mate, it's a Championship, man. Get yourself done.
Not what you want to hear now.
I know I always say I done really well, but I actually did, right? And we were training, I done really well. And Gary Johnson pulled us in the office. We're playing away to Poole Town. I phoned Charlie Austin, right, and said, mate, I'm playing at Poole Town tomorrow. What's it like? He's like, oh, you'll hate it, lad. He said, you will hate it. It's the worst surface, man. You won't be able to get the ball down. They'll be up for it. It'll be horrible. I phoned my agent. I was like, please, can you try and get this deal done before this Poole Town game, man? Because I've just spoke to Charlie. He thinks I'll have a shocker on it. And he's like, nah, the chairman's going to come tomorrow. Because I was wanting more money. I was speaking about the money at this stage because I'd done well. And Gary Johnson went, well, see if you play well tomorrow, the chairman's going to be there. So if you do well, he'll give you more money. Mate, I just knew. We got changed in porta cabins, right?
Oh, no.
I know, mate. You can picture it, can't you?
What league were Poole Town in at that time, actually?
God knows, mate.
Ah.
God. And I remember walking out, right, and I looked at the pitch, and I think the first pass came to me, mate, and I went to control it and it bobbled down my foot.
Oh, no.
I think their midfielders, like, took a touch and nearly scored. I couldn't even tell you what was going through my head at that stage, mate. And then after the game, obviously I had a shocker, mate. I had a shocker. And Gary Johnson pulled us in, and he's like, going in to see for another week. And I went, nah, mate, I'm going up the road, man. Done.
Yep.
And as when I was going up the road, my mate Joe De Vera was at Portsmouth. Again, he was one of that group that me and my missus used to hang about with, him and his. And Joe's like that to me, mate, Pompey are desperate for you, man. In fact, he told me that at the start, but obviously I thought I'd finished 6th in League One that year, played every game, done well. I was thinking League One team or a Championship team. And so Joe phoned us at the start of the season, he'd signed for Portsmouth. He says, come to Portsmouth, mate, it'd be brilliant, man. Massive club, so you should see the stadium, the training ground's really good. But the money wasn't great, mate, because they'd just been done with all the money, so...
Right. They would have been in League 2 at that point, is that right?
League 2, mate.
Yeah, League 2, yeah.
I didn't want to go and play in League 2 again, mate. I played there 1 year with Swindon and didn't want to play League 2. I thought it was better than that, if I'm honest. And had nothing else, mate. And then Gillingham phoned, actually. I was on my way to Portsmouth, and Gillingham phoned us. It was Paul Benson, actually, who played with Swindon. He went, Martin Allen's just been on the phone with me, mate. He wants to meet you at Gillingham. He wants to take you. And it was more money than what I was getting at Portsmouth. And I was like to Benno, I says to Benno, what's he like? And he went, mate, if you think the Canio's crazy, man, times it by 10 for Martin Allen. He says, but in a good way, he says, you'll probably like him. And I just thought, I looked at Gillingham and I looked at their squad. I knew no one in their team. No, I knew nobody.
Not a person, that.
Nah, wow. And then I obviously had a mad manager for 18 months, and I was thinking, do I want another 18 months? My mate was at Portsmouth, and I thought, Portsmouth, mate, great club, man, like proper club. So I said, I'll go to Portsmouth first and meet them. And as soon as I went and walked in Fratton Park, I said to my missus, I'm going to sign here, man. Unbelievable. What a stadium, eh? Honestly, see the pitch, mate, it's always immaculate. The stands are like 2 yards from the pitch. It's pure. Wow. The pitch seems like it's kind of higher up than the stand. Do you know what I mean that way?
Aye, yeah.
And then you walk. See the tunnel. I love this, mate. It's the only club. I think it's the only club I've played for and against that have it. Is see Portsmouth. So you get changed in the changing rooms. You walk down steps. You come along, mate, and you're standing in the tunnel. There's steps, and you can just see Fratton Park. Always full house. And then you walk up steps to get onto the pitch, mate. I used to love walking out of Fratton Park, but the problem was with our team that I used to love walking out of Fratton Park. I could tell you could actually see boys thinking, because obviously Portsmouth were the one at that stage. Like these boys had never played in front of a crowd of 18,000, so you could just tell there was a nervousness for the start, and it's a disaster, to be honest, mate.
So it was obviously Portsmouth are in League 2. Fans are still brilliant, selling out Fratton Park, great stadium. Was there still boys in that team that could have played at a much higher level? Was there any dregs left of the Premier League or Championship boys there?
Nah, do you know what I was? Again, similar to when the season I struggled at Swindon, there was a lot of good young boys, mate. But see, in League 2, you can't have a team full of young boys. And see, the older players that were there, they weren't good enough. A bad mix, mate. Like, you're asking young boys like Jed Wallace, who was a great player, mate, now plays in Millwall. You're asking Jed to go and be a match winner, mate, at 19-year-old every week, and it was tough on him. And when a young kid gets criticised, like Jed's got a great mentality, he doesn't really care, but at 19, mate, and if the crowd was getting on his back, you could tell, obviously, of course it's going to affect him. Adam Webster, who's now at Brighton, was there. What a player he was. Again, young though, mate. I think our centre-backs that year were Jack Watmore, who was 17, and Adam Webster was 19. Mate, you're asking two centre-halves to go and play against. And in League 2 at that time, mate, you're talking like, who played up front for... talking like guys like Dion Burton, guys like that have been there and done it, mate, and he's bringing two 17 and 19-year-olds about, so it was tough, mate, And we had a guy called Dave Conley, who was a hero. What a player he was. One of the best players I've played with.
Yeah.
And Dave had high demands. As I say, I got on well with Dave because I like people that are like that. But some of the boys just couldn't take it, mate. And you could just see them kind of going under. And then the manager was a lovely guy, mate. But again, I think he was a youth team manager before, so he knew all the young boys. And he wanted to play all the young boys. And Dave obviously was probably a bigger personality than what he was. Dave would kind of take over and the manager would never really step in. So it was kind of a disaster, mate, to be honest. We're lucky enough. I actually thought at one stage we are going to get Portsmouth relegated out of the Football League, and
wow.
we 20 of the biggest jokers of all time, man. Thankfully, we stayed up that year, mate, because it would have been a uproar.
And was that just a one year deal that you were on, or?
No, I had a 2-year deal. I mean, actually, I was going to sign a 3-year deal, but my missus, we were in Swindon, right, and I made a promise to her. She's like, "I promise we're going to go closer up the road because I can't."
Portsmouth's the furthest south you can go, is it?
Exactly, man. I can't drive either, mate. So we used to drive up to Glasgow.
Oh no.
She would drive for 8 hours, man. I'd sleep for 8 hours, man. So we end up in Portsmouth, and she's like, "Nah, there's no way I'm staying here for 3 years." So I signed a 2-year deal, and after about 3 months, we got burgled.
Oh really?
Anyway, because she got burgled, and she's like, "I'm off. I'm going back up the road, man. You're not on your own."
I thought Portsmouth's a nice area, is it not?
That's the problem for me. So I'm in there on my own. It's scorching constantly.
Oh, dear.
Now you end up. It's so laid back, Portsmouth, mate. Like you're sitting in a restaurant. See anywhere I've been, like a fan. See you're having a drink. A fan would proper scowl at you, man. Like see Swindon, like hated you drinking. They would grash at the club.
Oh, really?
But see Portsmouth, mate. Like a fan would come over and be like, "You want a beer?" You end up sitting getting. They're so laid back down there, man. I don't know if it's because like they're next to the sea and there's a beach there, but it's just so laid back, mate. And misses is away, and you just end up going out too much and not living your life properly. That's what I always say to everyone. Like, it's no coincidence that the 18 months that I actually lived my life as a football player was the most successful. It's no rocket science, you know what I mean? With the Canio, so.
Aye. And then obviously season at Portsmouth, and then in that summer you move back up the road to your hometown club, Dundee. Was it always an ambition to go back to Dundee or back to Scotland at all?
Nah. Like, if my missus never had what she had, me, I'd have been in England for the rest of my career. I loved it.
Oh, really?
I loved it, mate.
Wow.
Just going to League 1 and 2, mate. You're still going to big stadiums now, eh? Like big. It's something different. I loved travelling to 23 different teams, and not playing the same teams for. I think Scotland it should be a bigger league, mate. Because see,
I agree.
Definitely,
man. Definitely.
I remember watching clips in Aberdeen these 5 times before. So I loved it down there, mate. Really did. Down there, I think it suited me better as well. Up here, mate, I couldn't believe the pace of the game when I came up here. It's just like
I was going to ask that. Is it completely different? Different? Yeah.
Especially with the Canio, mate. Like for us, it was all about like build up and keep it, and then once the chance is on, we'll get it wide. But mate, I came up here, man, and my first game, it was like a bat. I was blown out my hole after about 20 minutes, man. We get it, and first thought is, can we score? And then they'd get it, and it was like, kick it forward and score, man. I was like, wow. And everyone was so, it was like a young boy. We played Partick Thistle, and the 2 centre midfielders, man, were like, giving me it, man, like, in my ear, slaughtering us, like, doing something like that, man, honestly. And then, like, I want to smash you all the time. I remember going to take a touch, and it was just bang. I was like, wow, man, I need to be on, I don't know what I thought, man. I was like, I'm going to struggle here, and I did. I struggled. In fact, see, it started on the first 6 games, I think we went unbeaten. I played every game, and I was doing all right. Not great, but all right. And then we got humped for United at home. I think it was 4-1. And then I got injured. We were playing St Mirren away, and I got injured in the warm-up. And missed like 4 games or something. Then after that, mate, I was hopeless. Couldn't get back up to speed. We just had our second kid, mate, and he never slept a wink, eh? And we were coming through for Glasgow. I was knackered, man. See, I remember at times going to play and I was shattered. I hadn't slept all week. You're doing all that travelling. My back's there. I had a bad back at Portsmouth, mate. The last thing I had to be doing was travelling through to Dundee every day for an hour and a half. Training, travelling back an hour and a half. It's like stiff as a board, man. And just never worked. But all down to me, mate. Like, I've gave Paul Hartley we said a couple of things on open goal and that. But when you look back, mate, it's never usually the manager's fault. It's always there's a reason why you're not playing, why you're not doing well, and it's always yourself.
And then Paul Hartley leads you to a 6th place finish, which is very respectable for Dundee. I just want to ask you, who were the best players in and around that team at the time? I know boys like Kevin Thompson and stuff like that. Just how good were boys like that to get a team like Dundee up to 6th position?
Mate, see when you say that, like What did you say? Respectable. That's amazing for Dundee for me. No, it is.
I know. If you look at them now as well, that's what a season.
That's what I'm saying, mate. Like, I grew up in Dundee. Dundee were always kind of first division, bottom half of the Premiership. We finished sixth. Paul Hartley done a great job, mate. Honestly, great job. His recruitment that year, training was brilliant, mate. I love Paul Hartley's training. I really enjoyed it. Good sessions he put on. Really enjoyable. Obviously, just me and him, because I wasn't playing, kind of clashed a couple of times, but but he was good. Like, Paul Hartley had good ideas, mate. I liked the way he wanted to play. Maybe at times he went away from what he wanted and would ask us to go forward more than what he talked about at the start of the season. But obviously that's the pressures of being a manager. The crowd at Dundee do get on your back if you're keeping the ball for some reason. Dundee fans love the ball going forward quite quick and didn't like really passing it about, which didn't suit me, mate. I like to... Peter probably says it's negative football, which maybe it is, but like a wee bit of build-up, mate, before it goes forward. I mean, they were desperate for you to get the ball forward quick. But players-wise, mate, like Kevin Thompson was ridiculous.
What a player.
We used to Paul Hartley's got a great drill he does with a big skinny box, he used to call it. Everyone's in it, and there'd be like 3 bounce players in the middle and then be 3 boys chasing. And Tomo was sensational at it.
Yeah.
So the wee things that, again, mate, never once does a Cruyff for a step over or pings the ball 40 yards, but just the simple things were done to the best, mate. Like a passing drill, everything was crisp to feet. The way he received it, these simple things, mate. And that's, again, a top player. Gary Harkins was really good. Tomo clashed a couple of times, probably because Jeeves isn't the hardest work in the world. What he would give you, mate, is some of the things he could do with a ball were unbelievable. Paul McGowan, what a player. Should have played higher for me. Could have played the Championship in England easy. And again, mate, it was similar to my Swindon dressing room. It was boys similar age, great dressing room, loved it. Like in the Kevin McBride, guys like David Clarkson, guys that had been there and done it. James McPake, Paul McGinn, great lad. Willie Dyer was there, really good guy. And who was up front? Greg Stewart, what a player! What a player, mate. Greg was probably the best player. Like Tomo never played as much because he was injured quite a bit. But every day in training, like Greg Stewart would do something every day in training. You would go, wow. Every day he would nutmeg you. He was guaranteed to nutmeg me every session, mate. Could you
tell then that he was going to? He's got his big move quite late now at Rangers. Could you tell that he was going to get a move like that in the future?
Well, see, when we trained the first couple of days, and I think Greg maybe played wide or something. Yeah. I don't know where he played in training, but we were popping the ball about, and I remember saying to Hartley, like, Standard's brilliant, man. He's like that. Yeah. Really, and I was like, who's going to score? Who's going to score? I didn't know Greg. He was at Cowdenbeath. I'd been down south. I never really followed. And he went, "Oh, the boy Stewart will score." Like Paul Hartley had that belief in him. Fair play to Paul Hartley, man. Seen it straight away. He said, "No, the boy Stewart will be a player, man. He'll score goals." And Greg was.
Sorry, when you go.
And Greg was sensational, mate. Like you could tell, he was. We finished 6th that year, and you could tell he was. You could play higher. So you could tell that he could go and play for... I always thought he'd go and play for like Hibs or an Aberdeen.
But he did play for Aberdeen, didn't he?
Sorry, he was at Aberdeen, mate.
Yeah.
But no surprise that Greg's good enough to go and play for Rangers, mate, definitely. And a great as well, total great guy, Greg. Lovely.
And would Kane Hemmings have been there at the same time as well?
Kane came as well, and Kane done really well as well. Another one that's a great lad, mate. Like, a great dressing room. But we go. Hungary was it Hungary or something pre-season, and what a laugh we got, mate. Honestly, a really good set of boys. Even guys like Kevin Thompson who play for Rangers, mate. Like no airs or graces about him, no above anybody. Total everyone mixed together. It was just a good set of boys. Paul McGowan, mate. Like he's a screwball. I don't know how Cammy Kerr's still playing football, mate. Cammy Kerr must be the strongest mentality of all time.
Did they terrorise him?
For the first in the last minute, he would just scream at him, man. What a guy.
And then again, a couple of injury problems with Dundee, especially in that second season, kind of halted your progress, and then your contract was mutually terminated in August. Did you ever think at that point that would be you? You'd be done, you'd stop playing football, or were you determined you'd go back to it?
No, I was done, mate. Totally done.
Oh, really?
So I had a couple of offers to go on trial with, I think, Millwall, because Neil Harris, who I played against in the playoff final. I always used to play at the centre for Swindon. He'd always play up front for Millwall, so he was kind of sitting on me, and I was kind of sitting on him, and I'd always do all right against him. So I think he got a Millwall job and said about us going down on trial, and Shrewsbury offered us to go down on trial, but I had 2 kids, mate. My missus' head had gone to England. Like she, Vada says to her, we're going back down to England. Would have been divorced. You know what I mean? So I knew that I didn't want to play. I knew that I wouldn't get a full-time team in a Premier League team in Scotland, because nobody knew us up here. I was doing south, done all right down south, but the year I was at Dundee, obviously, I'd never done well. So I knew that nobody would take us. So I wasn't going to go to the Championship, mate, because I wasn't wanting to go full-time on money that I could get part-time, if I'm being totally honest with you. So Cammy Kerr was actually on loan at Peterhead at the time, and I used to say to him, like, I was having a talk at Dundee. I knew all this, mate. This was all going through my head that I wouldn't get another team. So I used to say to Cammy, say to Jim that I'll come and play for him next year. See what he says. And I phoned Jim, and he's like, "You're off your nut, man." He's like, "Why you want to come? Why you want to come here?" And I actually just wanted to enjoy it. I knew I'd enjoy it. I knew I would. I knew that Jim would tell us it like it is, similar to Canio. Like Jim at 15, mate, Jim would tell me if I was terrible. Like he would say, "You're not good enough." So I knew that he would do it now. If you do well, he'll tell you, and that's what I wanted, mate. I need a manager that's honest with us. Went for a couple of sessions, loved it. Absolutely loved it. Good laugh, and had some good players, mate. Good players. So Jim says, in fact, mate, Jim was actually, because I was injured all the time, Jim was like, "Can I give you money that other boys get, me, because I might not play. Like, it's not like I've got a big massive budget where I can just give you money and you get injured and it doesn't mean anything. So it's not like Dundee." So I think I was on, can't remember what it was exactly, but to make my money up, I had to play. So it was basically appearance based, mate. And I know it was a big risk, mate. Honestly, like
it's like a kind of non-contract agreement. It's just all heavily like weighted on the appearance fees.
I think it was like a basic of about maybe £200, and then to make up the rest of my money, I had to play.
Wow.
And that was scary, mate. Like I always say this, and I say this to kids as well. I've finished 6th in League One with Swindon, playing every game. Done really well, mate. Like put myself doing quite a bit, but I done really well that year. Won League Two the year before. Played every game, 55 games or something it was that year. And 2 years later, mate, I was getting offered £200 to play part time.
Wow.
Scary, mate. Scary. I actually remember driving him to Peterhead thinking, what has happened, man? What's happened? And the worst thing was, mate, because of that, because I wasn't on a lot of money, I had to go and get a night shift job in the Royal Mail. I didn't drive.
Really?
I didn't drive, mate, so I stayed in Steps. And the Royal Mail job was at 12 at night in Springburn, mate. Do you know Springburn?
Just north of Glasgow, aye. Yeah, kind of in Glasgow.
So I would leave my house at 11 o'clock at night, mate, and walk to work in Springburn, and see that walk.
Wait, so you'd walk from Steps to Springburn?
So you walk through Proven Mill past St Knox ground, and then you just go straight over, and then it's the Royal Mail there. See some of the conversations I had with myself on their walks, man. I was like, see, doing a shift, never worked before in my life. See, doing a shift in that, I was like, wow. It's scary, mate. Because I was a night shift, mate. I couldn't really go to the gym on that. So my fitness in, mate, I used to run him after my shift. 6 in the morning, shattered, run up the road, go for a sleep, and then obviously train one night a week at Peterhead and then play on a Saturday. But that's what any kid, man, like, who, honestly, man, didn't let it pass you by, because see, when it hits you, mate, I could see why boys suffer from mental health and that, mate. You see, when that first happens after it, you cannot believe it. It's a pure surreal, man. The worry that goes through your head is unbelievable. Then thankfully open goal came up, mate, and that kind of saved us, man.
And then, well, on Peterhead, that first season at Peterhead, you get to the Petrofat Cup final, you're playing Rangers of all teams, probably the only chance you're going to ever get to play them with Peterhead again. Just how good were that Rangers team in the Championship that season as a Peterhead player?
We honestly thought we had a chance, mate. We were really good that year. We should have went up that year. I think Ayr got promoted. We beat Ayr quite a lot that year, and Stranraer were the final. We beat Stranraer more times than they beat us. But we fell away at the end of the season. Probably the Petrofact was a hindrance to us, mate, because maybe boys injured and maybe playing as well as they not really concentrating on the league as much. Because when you're playing with Peterhead, mate, you're going to play Rangers at hand. takes up all your thoughts. You know what I mean? But we actually thought we had a chance, and then you play them, mate, and they were top that year. They were really good, mate. Like, I've played a lot of teams, but that day they were outstanding, But the funny thing is, this is a funny story because Jim slaughtered us after the game, slaughtered us. Like, he's like, I didn't mind losing, but you were miles off them. Didn't even kick them, didn't get close to them. And I think I put my hand up in the dressing room and I went, Gaffer, they're unbelievable. They were brilliant. I was like, maybe it didn't look like it for the side, but we couldn't get near them because we weren't trying. They were brilliant. They had a certain way of playing, mate, where Kenny Miller would drop in, Barry Mackay would run in behind, and it was like a total movement that they had, mate. We were like, didn't know where to go. So he's like, nah, I'm not having that side, nowhere near good enough. And the best thing that ever happened for us as players was, I think, they beat Celtic the next week.
Oh, and then the Scottish Cup.
I don't know what if it was a Scottish Cup, maybe, and I texted him actually during the game and I went, surely you're going to take it back,
Yeah.
And he was like, right, fair play, man. No, they were good that year in their Warburton. Like, the way they passed the ball about and that was sensational, mate. It was one of the hardest games I've ever had. Barely touched the ball.
Anyway, the big break comes about 3 years ago. Entered the world of football media with Open Goal Sport as the host of their new football show. How did Open Goal actually start? And were you always involved from the very, very beginning?
I've been involved from the very beginning, mate. So, my mate's an advertisement, he was in marketing, and he phoned me and he was like, what are you doing for a job? And I was like, oh, mate. Man. I think I was sitting in the soft. I remember actually I was sitting in the soft play with my kids were playing, and I was again probably one of the chats with myself saying what's happened.
What's going on? Yeah.
He said, he says, listen, don't know if you've ever heard a podcast, and I was like, mate, you kidding on? Of course I've not. Like, do you know? It's going to be massive, man. He's like, I've got an idea. Are you interviewing football players and putting it out to like YouTube? I was like, how does that even work, man? Like, and he's like, YouTube, and he says, come and meet us next week. So I went and met him. He had it all planned out. Like, he's brilliant, mate. I had it all planned out, and I went like, why no, man? Like, what? Get a bash, innit? Like, he went, have you got 4 guys that you can think will be brilliant on an interview, like mates? And I was like, I went, Big Charlie Mulgrew first, and he pure screwed his face up. And I was like, what? He went, Big Charlie's terrible. Like, he's terrible in front of the media. And I was like, no. So that's when I thought, this could work, man. Because see if everyone thinks Charlie's doing that. Like, couldn't it be any more wrong, And then, obviously, I think it was Kevin Thompson, who was really close with Dundee, and Dan O'Day and Charlie Adam. But it's funny because I used to sit next to Tom in the dressing room and Jason Craig, and I used to batter them with questions, and I used to say, like, mate, I've never met anybody that asks as many questions as you. So kind of when they said about me doing it and thinking back to what Kevin Thompson first, I remember coming back in the car and the boy I dated was like, mate, this is going to work, man. He's never ever seen like a football player talk like that. And how
I remember watching the Kevin Thompson one. I seen it come up on Twitter or something. I'd never heard of it. I was like, watch this. But it's the fact that it was completely different. It wasn't like a normal standard football interview or how was the game today? Are you going to kick on next week? It's just like watching 2 pals have a chat down the pub about football, and that's what makes it so successful. It was brilliant. So
the thing is, see if it wasn't for they 4 guys, like, it would never have worked, mate. Like, they were sensational, and all the people that come on have made it, mate. So, the guys have been brilliant, mate. And see, since I've on it, like, best job in the world, mate. I absolutely love it. Like, getting to talk about football and having a laugh and getting to hear the stories, mate. Like, I sit and buzz off the stories, mate. Like, I genuinely, my mates say this as well. Like, see, when I was at Swindon and I'd come back up the road for a night out, all they would want to know, we wouldn't talk about anything else. They just want football stories,
Aye.
Want stories about the Canio. And because of that as well, when my mate said, I was like, this will work, man. See if you can get good football stories. People love them. It's the best. Like, they're the best stories. Like, and yeah, you're honestly, see, when I first done it, I was hopeless. Like, see, when I never watched them, but I think a couple of months ago I maybe watched one of the maybe it was Tomo's one, and how bad I was at it. Like, unbelievable. Like,
oh really? I'll need to go and watch it back.
You're relaxed and chilled, mate. Like, let me speak. I just kept butting in front. And then doing a mad noise. I still do it now, mate. I can't help it. But That was horrible to watch, but you're good, mate.
Oh, cheers.
Watch, yeah, you could take my job.
When you retire, when you and Slaney are back playing for Celtic next season for 10 in a row, I'll take your job, right?
That's what you need to get, mate. You need to get yourself a Slaney. Find a Slaney and you'll be successful.
Just about to ask you about Slaney. How were you first introduced to Slaney and Kev? For those who don't know, Paul Slane and Kevin Kyle, ex-professional footballers and regular guests on the Open Goal.
What did you just call Slaney there?
An ex-professional footballer, but
34 games. That's not an ex-professional
did you
football.
get as many as that? You never got 34, no chance.
I think it's 34, mate. So Slaney, obviously, you were talking about that year I went to Swindon on loan.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember sitting and Paul Caddis texted me and he's like, mate, you need to meet this guy. He's like, you'll love him, man. He's a total screwball. And so I came back to Swindon. In fact, I was actually speaking to Slaney. I was like, how you doing, mate? And he's like, I says, how you doing, mate? You enjoying it? And he went, absolutely not. Hate it. Totally out of my depth. Shouldn't be here. And I was like, I started killing myself laughing. And I was like, who cares, man? Like, just, we're all hopeless. Just get on with it, man. And then I was like, do you want to come up for breakfast? And he went, no, I'm just going to go and sit in the toilet and lock the door till 2. And then, obviously, I was one for like a couple of weeks, mate, and it was just so funny, man, in the dressing room. And then we went to America that trip. And when we came back to America, all the young boys had to go straight to America to play Lincoln. Chris Sutton had just got the Lincoln job. And all the big names could go home, but we had to go to Lincoln. And some of the young boys were coming up down south, and Slaney was one of them. And I just remember before the game, do you know that talk Tony Mowbray had with me in Australia?
What one was that?
About carrying on.
Oh yeah. Is that what you always do? Aye.
I actually wanted to go over and just give Slaney the exact same talk. We made this thing back to it. And see, to be fair, he played that day and he got a terrible injury, and that's what ended up doing him in that Lincoln game. I think he'd done his cruciate. And shame, mate, because you could tell he was a good player.
Aye.
And so I done open goal. I says to the boy, I said, I know somebody that'll be amazing at this, man. wee guy, Paul Slane, and he was like, I might, because of all the stuff at the time, it might maybe a wee bit too soon to bring him in straight away.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe once we're kind of established, then we can get him in. So I think after maybe a year and a half, we were like, let's get him in for a podcast, man. And he just took over since then. Can't get rid of him.
What about Big Kev? Was that just when you done the interview with Kev? Is that when you used to?
Sorry, mate.
Was that just when you used to click when you done that first interview with Kev? Is that when he got on board?
See with this, mate. See, trying to get people to do it, especially at the start, it was tough, man.
Oh, really?
I've grafted, man. I'm telling you, like, this is why my face looks like it does. Trying to get people to do it. Like, we were going. I remember some Mondays were coming up. And it was like Wednesday, and we never had anybody to go out. Monday, and I'm thinking, this is done. Like, we're done. I can't think of anybody else to do an interview. This could be it finished, man. And I phoned Tony Watt up, and I was like, he just came back for somewhere. I'd only met Tony a couple of times. I was like, Tony, can you come and do an interview, please, mate? And again, footballers get a bad name, mate. But do you know what you find with most of them? That they'll do anything for you. Good guy. Honestly, the majority are good guys. Tony's like, not a problem, man. Done him on the Thursday. Put his out on the Monday, and his was massive, man. Like, he got his viewing figures were amazing, and I think we kind of got a couple more off the back of that as well. So with Kev, I'm always looking for an opportunity to ask people to date me, because you need, as I say, we do one a week. It's tough, man, to get people. So I was at my probably similar story, mate. Never had anybody for the Monday, and I was at my wee boy doing a soccer camp up at Clyde, and it was a Tuesday, I think it was, and I was thinking, I'm sure that's that Kevin Kyle, man. But I just brass necked it.
Because he stays in Cumbernauld down, doesn't he?
Cumbernauld.
Aye.
Mate, I just brass necked it. Went up to him and I says, big man, I do this show, like, could you come and do an interview for us, please? And he was like, nah. He says, nah. He said, nah. I hate the media, like, totally. He'd been hung out to dry with all the stuff on the front page.
After what happened at Rangers, he slaughtered, man. It was brutal.
But I said to him, well, didn't say no now. I said, go and watch a couple, because we're not like that, man. We want to show the good side of what you've done, funny stories, talk you up. And he was like, listen, nah, I'll not be doing it, eh? He said, just no for me. And then don't know how, I think it was maybe Facebook or something, mate. He messaged me like, and I've just watched like, just watched 5-year interviews, man. He's like, love them. He's like, right, I'll do it. And then Kev came on. Kev was one of my favourite interviews, mate. Absolutely.
It's a really good one. Really good one, aye.
Just because like the ups and downs of his full life, and then we got him on a podcast and just tells it like it is, Kev. Like, not worried about what people think about him or no upsetting people. So just thought Kev would be good for it, man. And then there was a good balance between him and Slaney. I think they met. I think Kev wasn't meant to be doing it. Slaney wasn't meant to be doing it. It was only Kev that was meant to be on that day. And me and my mate says, we'll just chuck them on together, man. The two of them together. And they were pure, you could see them bouncing off each other. Like, so since then, mate, it's happened and just kind of stuck with it.
And talking about guests we've had on the show, this is a question from my brother. My brother really wants to know if you can make a 5-a-side team,
right,
in positions of guests that you've had on the show. Who makes a 5-a-side team?
Oof, that's a good question, man.
I know.
So defence would probably need to be Andy Robertson, mate.
Aye, definitely.
Goalie would be what goalie have I had?
David Marshall, no?
Big Marshall, stick Big
Marshall.
He's Scotland number 1, isn't he?
He was. Don't quiz me here. I don't know if he still is. He's still in the squad. He's definitely still in the squad, but I don't know if McLaughlin that's at Sunderland's taken over yet or not.
No, he can't take over. He's so we'll go Marsh in goals, Andy Robertson at the back. Midfield we'll go Barry Ferguson.
Great player.
And we'll go my hero, mate, who's on next week, Paul Lambert. What a player, man.
I seen that on Twitter today. Champions League winner.
Yeah,
wow.
See him up close, mate, in training. Wow, what a player, man. And then up front with who you got up front?
I've got mine in my head. It has to be, man.
Who you said?
Ali McCoist.
McCoist, mate. But McCoist's a goal scorer, mate. I don't know if he's gaining you much in 5-a-sides, is he?
No, these days anyway. No chance.
Still play. No, in fact, scrap that. My hero's going up front. Frank McAvenny. Love him.
Frank McAvenny.
McAvenny up front.
You
know what you're getting for him, didn't you? It's going to be a great night out. What a guy.
And then also want to ask, what's been the most memorable experience you've had from doing open goal?
The best day I've had doing open goal was interviewed Ali McCoist and Gordon Strachan on the same day.
Is that with William Hill, that one?
Nah, with William Hill. So we're on the room. Like Strachan, I think McCoist went first. Strachan sat through his, and then Strachan went. McCoist sat through his. But before both interviews, we were all sitting getting a laugh, and then after it, like just two massive names, mate. Just couldn't have been any nicer, man. I'd never met Ali McCoist before, and I'd never hear a bad word said about him. Honestly, he's a total gent, man. Like, honestly, just wants a laugh all the time. He's interested. It's not one of these guys, mate, just talks about himself. He's pure interested in how you're doing.
Aye.
And he was just, that day, mate, I absolutely loved it. I remember driving him thinking, like, this is amazing, man. Love doing this. Strachan was obviously my manager as well, so it's good to see him again. So that was probably my favourite day doing it.
And then you obviously have like so many big names come on and stuff, people that have achieved so much in football, but do you ever actually get nervous before an interview?
Do you know what, mate? See, at the start I used to get really nervous,
Yeah.
I used to get really, really nervous, man. I don't know when the stage was that I kind of stopped. I can't really remember. Do you know what? Do you know when I stopped getting nervous, mate? See, after I done Gordon Strachan. Because see, I was nervous doing him. Obviously, he was my manager, and you know what he's like, man. He can cut you down in one.
I know.
I think he maybe said a couple of things to us, and I just thought, if I could do Gordon Strachan, man, I can do any day. So probably, and McCoist as well. Like that, I say it was the best day, but so nervous, mate. I remember driving up to Hampden thinking, wow, man. Then that's all down to they two, mate, because how relaxed they made me feel before it as well. So that helped massively. But after I done they two, I was nervous doing Paul Lambert, because he was like my favourite player coming through at Celtic. But the podcast, like, didn't I get nervous about that at all, mate. Actually,
that's because you know if anyone's going to make a mess, it'll be Slaney and not you. So
that's it, mate. See, when you know it could be worse, then it's fine, innit?
Right, just final two questions. We're nearly there. I know I've kept you well over time. Apologies. But you you've had a very successful career, both on the field and now off the field as well. Can you give any advice to any young players looking to come through, or any aspiring media stars as well?
I've said it a couple of times, but prepare properly, man. Like, it's the important thing. You've obviously done
the colour coding.
That's miles better. Mine is like a dog. Honestly, mate, like mine's is a dog's dinner. But like you say, mate, well prepared. You can tell you've prepared. Like, you're doing it just do your job properly, mate. Like, see, if you want to be successful, just do the right things. It's like very few people do well with that didn't prepare, that didn't live properly for what you're doing. If you're going to be a football player, be a football player. Didn't joke about it. Actually do it. Like, live your life properly. Listen to what good people are telling you, and give yourself the best possible chance. It's like this. Like, I use the negatives for my football career for this. Like, I'll never turn up to an interview underprepared. Speak to every single person that I can about the person that I've got coming on. Try and find out. There's nothing better, mate, than having as much information as possible. And then I get the questions, and then try and be a bit different. So I'd like try and add as many funny wee bits as you can here and there, and enjoy it as well, mate. Like, you need to enjoy it, man. See, if you stop enjoying it, then stop doing it, because I think people can tell if you're enjoying it or not. And the big thing as well for both, mate. And Tommy Burns has always said to me, the Canio was the same enthusiasm, mate. Like, natural enthusiasm. Didn't turn up and go through the motions at whatever you do. You're privileged to be working in football, is what I've always been taught, mate. So do everything you can to do it for as long as you can.
Brilliant. That's brilliant advice for everyone. And then finally, you talked about some negatives in your career there. So do you ever have any regrets as a player, or anything in your life you would have liked to have changed?
Oh, mate, I've got hundreds of regrets. I do. Like, see, when sometimes I sit and listen to things that I've said that I've done, and that, you think, what were you thinking, man? But that's the person you are, mate. Matt Ritchie, he explained it brilliantly. Like I said to him, because Matty said I was always trying to get him to go for a drink and have a laugh, and Matty was like, "Nah, I never done it." And I went,
Look at where he is now. Look at where he is now. Wow.
But he makes a great point, mate. Because I said to him, "I wish I'd done that," and he went, "But that's not the person you are. You're never going to be like that. You're just the person that you are." And as I say, I regret not doing it, but ultimately that's who I am, mate, and that's why I'm probably better suited to doing this than I was to go and play at a high level of football. So everything that's meant to be for you will probably happen, mate. Do you know what I mean? If you're meant to be on open goal, you're going to be on open goal. If you're meant to go and play for Newcastle, then you're going to go play for Newcastle. It's just life, isn't it?